Our children have improved their pass rates in this year's Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate and Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination. We congratulate all our students who have achieved success in their exams, and for those who were not as successful, we encourage you to resit those exams. Remember, never let failure define you. Let it be your teacher, your motivation, and your source of determination to achieve your goal. Hi there, thanks for joining us on this Monday edition of Jamaica Magazine. Our information-packed program starts right now.
Yo, this is We're committed to reducing the impact of disasters occurring in Jamaica. We're ever ready to assist you before, during, and after a disaster. But everybody have a role to play, so make we work together and follow the plan. Whether rich or poor or where you come from, hurricanes affect everyone, so be prepared. Prevention is better than cure. Be prepared. Listen to OPM.
A message from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your GIS News for Monday, August 28. Finance Minister Audley Shaw is hailing the success of government's latest debt management operation, which will result in the country's total debt declining by $58.5 million. He says it also means the debt trajectory on the government's economic program should fall from the current level of 115% to 108.6% of gross domestic product by the end of this fiscal year. The debt management exercise involved government buying back $145 million in bonds that were maturing between 2019 and 2025.
Those bonds, many of them were priced at 11% interest rate. So at every opportunity that I get to take out expensive bonds, I'm going to take it out.
At the same time, $869 million in longer-term debt instruments were issued at lower rates of 5 and 6.45% to mature in 2018 and 2045.
What this means and what this signals is that single-digit interest rates are on their way for private sector investments. Single-digit interest rates are on their way for people who have a good idea, want to set up a small business, and want to get something going.
Minister Shaw says the debt management initiative has put the country in a position to prepay $526 million in debt that were issued in the local capital market under the Jamaica Debt Exchange. The Agriculture Ministry has committed $50 million to provide crop care and productivity support for this year's implementation of the National Irish Potato Program. Minister without portfolio, J.C. Hutchinson, says farmers will be provided with pesticides, fertilizers, and other key inputs. He says the program's outturn for the 2016-2017 crop year, which ended in June, saw the sector recording a 99% self-sufficiency rate in local table potato production. Going forward, 9 validation plots will be established on which participatory training for farmers will be conducted. 20 farm tours will also be conducted for farmers not benefiting from the training exercise.
What we are looking at now for the 2017-2018 program, and that is this program that is coming out now. For this crop year, our aim is creating a sector where we are going to be increasing productivity by 11%, or going to 17 tons per hectare.
Meanwhile, the ministry's plant quarantine division has finalized negotiations with authorities in the Cayman Islands to facilitate the exportation of local Irish potato to that country under a pre-clearance arrangement. Minister Hutchinson provided the update at a recent National Irish Potato Stakeholders Seminar held at the National Irrigation Commission Research Station in Hounslow. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says work to restore Cornwall Regional Hospital is on track for completion in the first quarter of next year. The minister says the public will have access to periodic updates starting next month. He was speaking at last week's handing over of $12 million in medical supplies to the hospital in a ceremony at the Norman Manley International Airport.
This is indeed an important addition to the solution that we seek to deal with the Cornwall Regional Hospital scenario, and indeed to help to ensure that public health and the solutions that we offer is sustained.
The donation was made by the U.S. NGO Children's Medical Services International in coordination with USAID and the U.S. Department of Defense.
The hope is that, these supplies will be able to provide interim relief to the patients while the ministry works towards resolving this problem permanently.
The medical supplies will assist the delivery of services in surgery, emergency care, neonatal, and general practice. The National Land Agency, NLA, has received 50 highly specialized ICT resources and equipment from the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. JSIF contributed approximately $70 million through its Integrated Community Development Project, while the NLA provided $7 million. The specialized ICT resources and equipment include total stations, GPS, GNSS rover, spatial server, uninterruptible power supply, desktop computers, Latitude 14 rugged laptops, satellite tracking, microsurvey CAD, and color laser printers. Manager for Cadastral Surveys at the NLA, Major Patrick Aiken, says the items will enable the agency to equip all field surveyors with a total station for greater efficiency and productivity. Overall, the donation should assist the NLA to produce survey and cadastral maps in a more efficient manner. And finally, a new Firearm Licensing Authority, FLA board, will be appointed shortly. National Security Minister Robert Montego says the process of vetting potential members is ongoing and the new board will be made public very soon. He was responding to questions from journalists following the handover ceremony for new male dormitories for police officers at Harmon Barracks in Kingston last week. The FLA board stepped down earlier this month due to the unearthing of irregularities regarding the issuance of firearm licenses to people deemed unfit. The minister says that once the new board is in place, it will continue to drive the ongoing reform process of the authority. The FLA was established in 2006 to take over responsibility for granting and renewing of firearm licenses from the Jamaica Constabulary Force. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is committed to ensuring that every Jamaican child has the best learning environment to thrive and needs your cooperation to make the education system work successfully. That is why we are ensuring that all Jamaicans have full access to secondary education. Tuition is free of cost to you, but the government can't pay for everything, so do continue with your voluntary contributions. These contributions cover the expenses of co-curricular and sports activities and school development projects. We have also increased our support for PATH students. That's right, PATH students are not expected to make contributions and they will be provided with 5 days of free lunches. We know that a hungry child cannot learn. The ministry has implemented a literature book rental program, free insurance and IDs for PATH students in high schools. This government cares for you. We believe that every child can learn. Every child must learn.
The latest news coming out of the office of the Prime Minister comes your way next.
The idea behind the zones, yes, it is to control crimes within the hotspots, but it is also to lessen the ability of the hotspots to direct crime elsewhere.
And
education is the vaccine against poverty and crime and violence. And if one child doesn't have it, then poverty, crime, and violence will exist.
you're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Simone Wolf. As government readies the implementation of the Zones of Special Operations, Security and Community Building Strategy, Prime Minister Andrew Holness held talks with the Jamaica Constabulary Force. At Wednesday's meeting with the Force's Officer Corps, Mr. Holness reiterated that the Zones of Special Operations was to bring law and order to communities.
The idea behind the zones is not to suspend the rights of citizens in order to fight crime. I think that's a fundamental principle that I need to drive home the success of the operation is not going to be judged by how many people were killed. Indeed, it is the reverse. The success of the operation is that within the zone there are no murders, whether it is extrajudicially or by criminals. So if you can bring the murder rate down within a zone to zero, better yet, the loss of life to zero within that area, that would be a success.
The Prime Minister also urged the police to utilize intelligence-driven operations to retrieve guns from communities that are under the zones of special operations.
An important part of your operations in the zone is to restore the trust and confidence of the citizens. Your job is to convert the citizens into your crime-fighting allies.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness reminded school administrators last week that no child should be discriminated against by virtue of their inability to afford education.
Do not in any way, shape, or form deprive or discriminate against students who are not able to afford the fees that you are charging. The fees are not obligatory. And no child should be discriminated against by virtue of their economic circumstances. They did well and got the space in the schools and are entitled to it. And no principal, no teacher should do anything at all that could be considered discriminatory to a student.
Mr. Holness was speaking at Jamaica House on Wednesday at a function to honor students of staff members who sat this year's Grade 6 Achievement Test, GSAT. Stressing that every child had a right to education, the Prime Minister said he would be exploring ways to make it an offense to deny a child education on the basis of affordability. Prime Minister Andrew Holness is the recipient of the Jamaica 55 Grand Independence Gala Award for Distinguished Leadership from the Jamaican Diaspora. He received the award on Saturday in New York. The Prime Minister also delivered the keynote address at the Jamaica Diaspora event. Before his departure for New York, Prime Minister Holness welcomed guests to Jamaica House this past week. On Wednesday, he met with the Jamaican Government Pensioners Association. Wednesday also saw Mr. Holness holding talks with the 2017-2018 diplomats of the East Jamaica Conference. On Thursday, the Prime Minister thanked outgoing Canadian High Commissioner Sylvain Fabi for his service, and he welcomed the British High Commissioner-designate Asif Ahmad. While the Prime Minister was on assignment in New York, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Dr. Horace Chang, acted in his stead. On Thursday, Dr. Chang issued bursaries to over 100 tertiary students in Western Jamaica.
Providing training is critical to provide the opportunity for us as a country to achieve our targets in growth and economy, and to give our people a chance to earn the income to give them better quality of life.
And on Saturday, the acting Prime Minister extended condolences and support to the families of the 3 persons, including a 13-year-old, who were killed in Racecourse Clarendon Friday. Dr. Chang said he was especially troubled by the killing of children, which seemed to be a growing trend by criminals. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for the latest news coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
What are you doing to help the fight against crime?
Sitting on the corner, minding your own business, definitely not going to work.
It is time for us to unite.
Unite. Unite for change.
As we, the police, do our job,
we as citizens need to do our part as well.
Report crimes or even suspicious activities.
Let's all work together
as one united front against crime.
And make Jamaica the place of choice to
live, work, raise families, and do business.
Unite for Change, an initiative of the Ministry of National Security.
The government of Jamaica is committed to creating a safe, just, and cohesive country. One of the strategies being utilized is the recent implementation of the Law Reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures Act 2017.
to tackle crime requires a national effort, engaging all groups, interests, and communities. All hands must be on deck.
And so government has moved to streamline these efforts with the passage of the Law Reform, Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures Act 2017. The law seeks to cauterize crime, promote community development through social intervention programs, all while respecting the human rights and fundamental freedoms of citizens. Here's how it works. The Act allows the Prime Minister, acting on the advice of the National Security Council, to declare any high crime area of the island a zone for special security operations and community development measures. The National Security Council comprises the Prime Minister, the Ministers of National Security, Justice, Finance, and Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, as well as the Attorney General. The Chief of Defense Staff, the Commissioner of Police, the National Security Advisor, and a member of the opposition are also part of the Council.
The bill says that you have to select areas where it is evident that there is a crime problem. It is not just left up to the Prime Minister's whims and fancy. In the law, there are parameters.
Once declared, a zone operates for a period not exceeding 60 days. But the Prime Minister, on the advice of the Security Council, may seek an extension of another 60 days from the House of Representatives. 14 days after the declaration of a zone and each extension, the Prime Minister will make a statement to Parliament. And the head of government in council may at any time make an order revoking a zone. Once a zone of special operation is in effect, a joint command will be established with a major of the Jamaica Defense Force and a superintendent of police of the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
There's a requirement in the law for them to have received human rights training. There's a requirement for the teams working in the zone, the joint force, to receive that kind of training.
A cadre of officers will also receive human rights, use of force, and community building training to carry out duties in the zone. Every zone will have an accountability framework, reporting daily to the National Security Council and submitting a written report every 10 days.
If for any reason things were to go opposite to what we expect, we would immediately be able to rein in, call it off, shut it down, take corrective actions.
Cordon and search operations by the security forces can last no more than a day, and curfews should not exceed 3 days. When searches of homes or vehicles are being conducted, the owner, occupier, or person in possession must be able to observe the process. In addition, only female security officers may search a female citizen. No tool of lawful trade can be seized, and if items are seized, the owner or person in possession must be given a receipt. And in the case of detention, only the person in charge of the zone can give such orders. After being satisfied, there are reasonable grounds to do so.
The philosophy of the Act is clear that this is not targeting a community, it's targeting criminals who are holding communities to ransom.
If detained or arrested, the person must be told the reason for the detention and arrest. He or she must be brought before a justice of the peace who will determine whether or not there is reasonable grounds for the arrest or detention.
If the JP disagrees, the man must be released. If the JP agrees, within 24 hours, that person must be taken before a parish judge so that the parish judge can decide whether or not to grant bail or to release that person.
A mobile justice unit will also be stationed in the zone to ensure that persons' rights and freedoms are guaranteed.
The establishment of the zone, therefore, is never about derogating, taking away, or abrogating the rights of the citizens. It is about protecting, preserving, and extending the rights of the law-abiding citizens of this country. So this is not merely a security operation. This is more a development operation.
This government believes that the citizen must come first, that the dignity of the citizen must be upheld.
Communities ultimately will go back to elevated crime levels if we do not restore community leadership and organization, provide basic needs, improve infrastructure, and provide education and training and attachment for the young people.
So a social intervention committee will be operational within 5 days of the security forces holding the zone. The committee will conduct needs assessment in the zone, following which a sustainable development plan for the community will be formulated. The committee will comprise the Prime Minister or his nominee and at least 10 persons, including representatives of the Joint Security Command, ministries, social agencies, the Mayor, the Custos, Member of Parliament, Councillor, the Church, and other groups.
I am confident that the zones of special operations legislation will lead to a reduction in crime and violence.
We are men with a message, and the youth them need to hear this.
We know everything about thug life.
Been there, done that.
Prison and a nice place, stay in school.
Serious thing we tell you, and a joke thing this.
You can't tell me about hungry.
That's no excuse. Leave the badness alone.
Nobody narrate you.
Them just afraid of you. Live positive, remember. A gang is a dead end.
A message from the Ministry of National Security.
School for most is a week away. Parents, are you ready for the new academic year? Double check with this next feature.
Do you hear that? You hear that? Yes, the start of the new school year is upon us, and I'm sure parents and children are ready and raring to go. Today, we'll just go through some of the things you'll need to have a smooth and worry-free transition from the lazy days of summer to the industrious school days ahead.
At this time, the last minute things would be ensuring they have their birth certificate, immunization card, as well as a child's medical.
An important part of the process of returning to school is registration. This ensures that there is a record available to prove enrollment at a school. This also tells the school administrators the correct number of students to expect so they can properly prepare for the young learners in the upcoming academic year. Whether it's going to a new school or to a new grade at your old school, registration is filled with a host of benefits for teacher, parent, and student. The teacher will get an idea of the number of children in the class and prepare for them. The student will get to meet the form teacher as well as other classmates, and the parent will receive well-needed information about getting the child ready for school. These include a book list, instructions on how to construct the school uniform, and a medical form. A medical record is one sure way to safeguard a student's safety at school. That's why the Ministry of Education mandates that students entering primary and secondary schools undergo a medical examination. The medical form that's filled out by a doctor has well-needed information on ailments, allergies, or physical disabilities that would preclude a child from taking part in certain activities, such as physical education or a school trip to a farm that might put the child's life in danger. Filling out the medical form is a top priority. Even though some schools may have allowed the child to register without the form, until that's done, registration at the school is incomplete. So ensure that the medical examination form is filled out and returned to the school before the start of the academic year. Buying the approved texts is essential to following the school's syllabus to academic success. In the past, parents have complained that their children do not use all the books prescribed on the book list, or that they cannot pass on the books to their younger children. That is now history, as the Ministry of Education has moved to carry out a thorough reform of the book lists in government schools. So now there's a ministry-approved book list that parents can buy from to give their children the tools to academic success. So parents, be sure to check the papers or call the Ministry of Education for the approved book lists for your children. At registration, parents should have been given a drawing of what the uniform should look like, including specifications such as length, color, and style. This would have given parents time to have the uniform sewn or bought. The correct color socks, shoes, hair accessories, bag, and watch would have also been on the list of proper school attire, so be sure to revisit the lists to see if you have bought the right things. Last-minute stops to the local bookstore for stationery and school supplies are now in order. And whether you're using public or private transportation to get your child to and from school, it's always a good idea to do dry runs to map out the shortest routes. So now that you've covered registration, filled out the medical examination form, followed the book list and uniform requirements, you and your child are ready for the upcoming school year.
No, son. A verb is an action word.
Parents need to become more involved in their children's education.
Parents are the first and in many cases the most important teachers.
Read with your children. Review their schoolwork. Visit their school.
Tapping and rapping and slapping, I said.
Nice. High five. Woo! A good education will never decay.
It was just this past Friday that I received the final designs for the implementation of the high-speed broadband fiber infrastructure component of the Government of Jamaica's network called GovNet. Now, this was an initiative that was commissioned just last April, a couple months ago. One of the major components of the GovNet initiative is the build-out of high-speed broadband fiber network that will, among other things, allow for seamless interconnectivity between government corporate offices island-wide. By putting in place this seamless connectivity, this infrastructure will allow government to even relate better with itself, and as such, be better positioned to relate to our citizens. I envision a situation where, through the implementation of GovNet, the government will realize a truly joined-up way of doing business.
And that's where we close the pages of Jamaica Magazine, but only for today. We return tomorrow around about the same time on this station. Keep the lines of communication open. Visit our website, jis.gov.jm. Email us, jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. Like us on Facebook, join us on Twitter, or download our app from the Google and Apple stores. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I am Adrian Atkinson. Thank you for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.